Hello. So, excuse me. Move the mic. Right. So it's Monday morning. No, it's not. It's Monday evening. Long day. After bodypower. And you know what? I don't really know what I think. We had the opportunity this year to do several tours, several talks, both on the underground stage and on a new stage called the Lab. So I'm trying to think of all the contributors. There was Dr. Hamill from Medichecks. There was a doctor from a TRT clinic that was involved with Medichecks. Myself, Rich Foster, Dr. Dean St. Martin, who's with Supplement Needs, and JP. And then we had a round table discussion that was a bit not the best, shall we say, and Peter Hilly from JP's stable, and Stephen also from JP's stable. Stephen Cassidy, who runs Evolution Coaching, joined us. Unfortunately, the TRT doctor walked off of that discussion because he felt that it should be more of a just say no policy and not particularly engaging users in the way the rest of us feel it should be dealt with. So, I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, obviously, at the end of the day, but I just feel it was a shame that he walked off instead of just giving his opinion, because the opposing opinion would have made for good discussion. So, I actually didn't catch many of the other talks. I know Richard was talking about supplements and what to look for in supplements and understanding ingredient labels. I did Blast Cruise PCT. And then I was going to do steroid and social drivers, and I ended up going off on a bit of a tangent because I hadn't prepared a presentation for that talk, so I ended up just talking randomly for about an hour, which apparently was quite good and probably better than the two talks that I'd actually scheduled up. And the last talk I did on Sunday was steroids in the brain. Weekend wise, Friday was steady, Saturday was busy, Sunday was a bit on the quiet side. Strom Nutrition, who I was sort of there with and spent some time on their stand, seemed to have a really good showing, so that was quite good. The powerlifting looked to be absolutely booming, and I know there was quite a few records and quite a few personal bests set. The strongman, I think, struggled a little bit because it clashed with a couple of other competitions, and there was no pro competition, but the strongmen were actually in quite good attendance. So Lawrence Charley was there, Rob Frampton was there, Terry Hollands was there, Hathor was there, the Stoltman brothers were there, Donna was there, I think Andy Bishop was there, Big Z was there, Colin Bryce was there, Darren Sadler was there. So from a strongman point of view, they had a really good showing. Obviously the bodybuilding, there was the PCA Europeans. I'm not sure what show NABA rang, and then there was another federation, more of a fitness-based federation, I think, that had shows on the Friday. The CrossFit arenas were huge and did seem particularly busy, and I didn't see the mixed martial arts because that was at the other end of the arena, so I don't know how that went from a point of view of attendance. But, excuse me, a reasonable attendance from gym manufacturers as well, which was quite nice. And then your usual sort of stands, mixed match of supplements and various other contributing industries, and then obviously the stuff that has nothing to do with the sport whatsoever. Now, a lot of people, as always, he gets a lot of criticism, and I've been very fast to criticise bodypower in the past, but I'm starting to get a better understanding of where they are. Spent quite a bit of time speaking to Mike and Leisha Gosi over the weekend. They run the underground, and Mike set up the talks for the Lab. and then spoke to Phil Mortimer both on the Sunday and today actually on the phone over the show. And you know, a lot of us criticise for lack of bodybuilding, body power, and I can't disagree. It does seem to be quite thin on the ground, but then when you look at it closely, actually there is more than what you realise. It's just you don't get to see it because it's stuck all over the place. So I spoke to Mike today and I spoke to Phil about possibly trying to condense the bodybuilding into one area. So if you want bodybuilding, you go to that area and it's absolutely saturated with it, in the same way that if you want powerlifting, you go to that area, and so on. And trying to get it so it's easier to find. I mean, Nathan Diasher was there, Luke was there, Luke Sandow, James Hollingheads was there, obviously Ben Chow, Luke's training partner, was there, Wesley Visser, Classic Pro was there, JP was there, Mandeep, who's pro I think now, was there. Did I say JP? Jordan Peters? I'm sure I did. Who else was there? Morgan Ast, Donald Bailey, the new signing with Explosive 8, but I can't remember the guy's name, sorry, but he's a big unit. Josh Malley was there. So, you know, there were bodybuilders, James Llewellyn, Aaron Hudson, Anth Bales. So there were plenty of bodybuilders. It was just they sort of got lost. Phil Heath, fucking hell, I don't know how I could forget that one. Lee Priest. So there was discussion about how they could sort of guarantee that certain pros left their sponsor stands and appeared at one section at some point during the weekend, so that there was a constant stream of high-end bodybuilder accessibility and communication in one area, basically the underground area. And we'll see. Conversations need to be had, but with some good scheduling and some changes in the agreements over the stands, I don't see any reason why it can't have a better focus, because from what I see, everything that you need is already in place, and everything that you want is already in place. And though there is an arm-long list of pros there are enough to have some very good content in the right area if it's scheduled and managed and marketed in a different way. And obviously one of the big problems with the pros is that they come, their sponsors bring them. So a company will go to Bodypower and say, and we all criticise Bodypower for the cost of the stands, and yet I was actually speaking to someone in the motor industry today, and he was saying that he'd been to a tyre expo and he was going to exhibit at the tyre expo, and to be fair, what he was saying they were getting quoted for stand space was very, very similar to Bodypower. So it may just be that that's what stand space costs. I don't know, but you know, big companies will contact Bodypower about stand space. They'll say, I want this. Bodypower say it's going to cost this much, and then they'll go, well, I'm bringing this and this, so I want a discount. So Bodypower say, okay. Discussions are had and the price is agreed, and that means that Bodypower don't have to book those athletes individually. I mean, obviously booking Phil Heath's going to cost a lot of money. I think Daniel and Bailey and Rob was around the 10 grand mark, so that's a lot for them to fork out. The problem is then that those athletes are on those stands, and then you can't get them away from those stands. So what I suggested was that it was built into the agreements that the athlete would spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes at the underground area at some point during the weekend, which would be properly scheduled in, and that the sponsor could put their market in. They could have banners at the underground area, they could have pop-ups at the underground area, and even more marketing at the point that the athlete was there. And that if the athlete has merchandise to sell, t-shirts, pictures, signings, that sort of thing, they would also have an area at the underground area which they could use for the period of time that they were there. So they're not really losing out on anything, and if anything, they're getting a second stand. Partially be it, but it's still a bit of a second stand area. But from a point of view of a visitor then, you know, if you want to see top end quality bodybuilders and you want to interact with these people and you want to see interviews with these people, all you need to do is go to that area and they will be there to some nature. Talked about possibly getting some of the British pros that already do train together to actually do a proper training session in this area. And so that was sort of the conversation. Whether that will materialise into anything, I don't know, but so far the conversation's been very, very positive. Regards Bodypower itself, I don't know how well it went. I don't know how well the talks went. They were, unfortunately, the area wasn't the best. It was very, very noisy where we were, and when you were stood on stage, you couldn't hear yourself speak. Luckily, the seating area, the speakers all pointed into it, and actually that wasn't too bad. So people in the seating area could actually hear what was being said, but the speakers themselves couldn't hear what was being said. It wasn't advertised, unfortunately. There was no schedules up anywhere, so people didn't know what was going on. But from what I could see, it was generally received quite well. So hopefully it is something that won't go away. And I'm told by Bodypower that they have no intention of getting rid of bodybuilding, and yes, they are diversifying, and yes, they are having more fitness and more multiple facets of the fitness industry there, but they don't intend to remove bodybuilding in any way. It's part of its foundation, and that was the whole idea of the underground, was to give bodybuilding a home at the event, but the reality of that is that it isn't happening. So I think it needs more planning from a future earlier point, and more commitment from it's really the sponsors that are bringing the athletes to allow their athletes to come into a central area that focuses on bodybuilding and training and that sort of thing. Other than that, like I say, it was good to catch up with people. Didn't get to talk to as many people as I'd liked. Saw quite a few people when I was talking, but then just couldn't find them again afterwards. Got to catch up with the Stockman brothers, which was good. Caught with Luke and Aaron, JP, Hilly and Stephen. Who else? Saw Benny Mangerson, but didn't get a chance to catch up with him, which was a shame. Saw Lawrence Charlet, but didn't get a chance to catch up with him either, which was a shame. So it was a bit of a mixed bag. Long days, tiring, and I just don't really know what I think about it. Didn't not enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it either. It seemed, I don't know what I expect. I think I probably expected that the steroid talks would have a greater impact, and they sort of seem to be a bit of a damp squid. But the first time, and all we can do is go away from that, and try and improve on that, really, and try and move forward from that. Bodypower seem committed to continue with it, which is a good sign. And I don't think anyone's run around in arms shouting and screaming about how terrible it is, so there seems to be no reason why it shouldn't continue. So let's hope it does. But like I said, other than that, I'm not sure. There were the usual weird sights and freaky people that Bodypower tends to bring out of the woodwork. But yeah, all in all, not bad at all. It'd be interesting to see where they move from here. It was smaller this year. I believe it was a full hall smaller this year. I don't know if that reflects body power or reflects the industry in general, not sure. There were still the usual huge queues for free stuff and usual huge queues for certain celebrities, but I didn't find it offensive in any way. And certain areas seem to be massively successful, so be interesting to see the thoughts of other people that went. And I understand the lack of engagement with bodybuilding, and I understand the lack of pros, but you know, if spending 50 grand gets you 4 top world pros, and that only caters for 10% of the audience, and spending 10 or 20 grand gets you 10 top Instagram influencers, and that caters for 80% of your audience, it's an obvious business choice where you're going to go. I mean, I like it, but it's business at the end of the day. If people want to see more at Body Power, then I suppose it's down to the customer base to voice their opinions and put pressure on to try and get more, but then that customer base has to turn up. And it ain't bloody cheap. I mean, let's be sure, the tickets aren't cheap, the parking's on top of that, though I understand that's got nothing to do with Body Power. The parking's actually council run, I think. And again, it's expensive to eat and everything else when you're in there. But that's never going to change, and that's never going to go away. So we're sort of stuck with what we got. And I think it's just a case of trying to make the best out of that we can. And I think all the ingredients are there. They just need mixing in a different way. Otherwise, yeah. Oh, and Morgan asked, fuck me, that boy's got some big legs. Jesus. They were impressive. Very impressive. But yeah, that's it really. Good. I'm glad to see the back of it in a sort of sense, because I was stressing a little bit over the presentations, and as it turns out, I needn't have done. They weren't as serious or as sensitive as I thought they were going to be. In fact, I was quite surprised at how people didn't seem to actually raise an eyebrow at the fact that we were stood on stage with a PowerPoint presentation with, in big letters, steroids being there, because I thought that would have actually raised more eyebrows than it did. It didn't. So it just proves how common steroid use now is, and how generally accepted it is, the fact that we were talking about it all weekend and it didn't cause a big impact, that it didn't cause a big stir, because you'd have expected it to do so, being such a public forum that it was, but it didn't. So yeah, I suppose it just points to how general usage now. But anyway, yeah, not bad at all. So on other fronts, still not bloody training. I have now some BPC for my elbow, many thanks to Umbrella Peptides. I think it's urcl.co.uk is their website, but they've sent me up some BPC. So I'll start that tonight, and I'm hoping to get back in the gym on Thursday, and then I should have a bit more time to get back into the routine of things. I hope you're all well, and take care, and I'll speak to you all soon.